We're doing everything we can to bring this message to the province. And we need you to continually to speak out. The show of signs are wonderful. That really shows the support here in our community. It ain't gonna end anytime soon, I can tell you that. It is my pleasure at this moment to introduce the Mayor of Cochrane, Peter Politis, who's responsible for this event today. He's taking the train down from Cochrane, bringing the message right across the Northeast. So let's give Peter a warm North Bay welcome.
Folks, it gives me great pleasure, as I said when I first got off the train here, to be welcomed by the warm people of Northern Ontario who know a couple of things. One is how to respond to people, how to be warm, and two is that this is our way of life. We're in charge of our way of life, and we'll make the decisions on our way of life. Nobody else will do that for us. Our message is simple. There are two key points that we're bringing across down the ride. I wanted to identify to everybody that the ride was just fabulous. It was fantastic. Each stop had people in it from around the north, both employees and people who were concerned, who were raucous, who were telling us their issues around the ONTC, and definitely identifying that they're not accepting this divestiture in no way, shape, or form either. So that inspiration is good for mayors like us as well, because this is a hard job for us to do. We have so many other issues that we're managing and working with as mayors and trying to keep under control. This has become a priority. It's unprecedented for mayors of this magnitude to come en masse and do what we're doing. It's unprecedented for mayors to be challenging the provincial government in the way that we are. And you know, when we were talking about this issue right up front, it became pretty clear that there was no other way to deal with this. This is not a time for us to worry about bridges at this point. We have to worry about our necks being in a guillotine and our whole way of life here being a threat. This divestiture is the straw that broke the camel's back. And we're not prepared to take our foot off the gas at this point. This is something that we need to push forward. And we need to push forward because it's bad for Northern Ontario. It's not good to privatize the ONTC. In Northern Ontario, 90% of the provincial landmass exists north of Highway 17 with only 7% of the population. It's our way of life. It's a rural way of life. It requires public support. There is no way private sector industry can run on a bottom line basis in this environment. There's no way for that to happen. When we privatize things like the ONTC, that's a signal from the government that this is clear policy that they're not supporting the magnitude and the value of rail in Northern Ontario. They're going to give it to the private sector, which will do what they do, and that's not a bad thing. The private sector will minimize, they'll be cost efficient, they'll maintain the rail bed, and at the same time, we will lose the magnitude of this rail. It's not a time for the province to be backing away and divesting from something as critical as rail in Northern Ontario. It's a time for the province to be involved, to recognize that we need to enhance the rail. They need to find the innovations and the creativity and help people learn how to use the rail and recognize that rail from an environmental standpoint and from an economic standpoint is a huge part of the future in Northern Ontario. We cannot let our rail continue to be divested and eroded away where we have nothing but the highway to rely on. We had a great screening from the producer Dan Neistat, who's here from Sault Ste. Marie, on his film Derailed, The National Dream. And if you haven't had a chance to see this screening, folks, watch it. It's fabulous. It gives you a great insight on just how critical and integral the rail is to who we are as a people and just how eroded the rail has become. And the fact of the matter is, we invest billions of dollars in road. We're not investing hardly any money into rail. It doesn't make any sense to me or the mayors in this group that the province would go down this road having purported to be the great environmentalists when you're looking at having rail represent 8 times more efficiency than what trucks do on the road. For every ton of product that's transported on the highway or transported altogether, for every ton, that same amount of oil that it takes to transport that ton, you can transport 8 times farther on rail. So what are we doing here in the north? We have no plan, We have no involvement in Northern Ontario and the leaders. We have no direction on where we're going with a key integral part of our society, which is the rail. And we seem to be backing away from our environmental conscience. We're increasing the carbon footprint at the same time. It doesn't make any rational sense. The mayors in this region, from Cochrane right down to North Bay and in between, recognize we need that rail. We can't be participating in intermodal transportation strategies on one side of the province while we're talking about divesting rail on the other side of the province. The ONTC is a big part of who we are. It's a big part of what we are right now in terms of how we exist. And we have a right as a people not just to exist and not just to minimize the impact, but to grow like every other Northern Ontarian and every other Ontarian. We've become insignificant Ontarians, unfortunately. And it's up to us to change that direction. And it starts here with the ONTC, it starts here with the employees of the ONTC, the 1,000 families that are associated to the ONTC, and if you take a decent multiplier of 2.5, the 2,500 other families that rely on the ONTC as well too. This is a big issue, and an issue we need to continue to fight and need to continue to stand behind. As mayors, we have our foot on the gas. We need you to continue to grow this with us. We need the province to recognize this goes well beyond Highway 11. We have people here from Sault Ste. Marie, the Coalition of Algoma Passenger Trains, and Linda Savory-Gordon, who are going to speak to you also about how Sault Ste. Marie has dealt with this issue and how important rail is to us. So having said all this, I have to tell you that I'm excited to be part of this process. I'm excited to be here supporting the ONTC. And I'm excited to be here as a leader in Northern Ontario who believes in our people, believes in our way of life, and believes that we are entitled to determine who we want to be without people thousands of kilometers away with nothing and no skin on the line making those decisions. Stand behind us, folks. Thank you very much.
We have a line from Sault Ste. Marie to Sudbury that was successfully in the process right now of refurbishment, but that is just for freight. And we wanted the Ontario government to have the Ontario Northland Railway provide passenger service for us from Sault Ste. Marie to North Bay. And this came as a terrible shock to us because the ONR, the ONTC, is the key to that happening. If that doesn't stay alive and stay in public hands, the chances of us in Sault Ste. Marie having a passenger service connection goes right down the drain. So we are behind you 100%. We're here today because we see this as our issue. This is the issue of all Northern Ontarians. We want to be able to travel up to Hearst, across from Hearst, over to Cochrane, then down up to Moosonee, down to Toronto, over to Ottawa. That is all part of what we used to be able to do as the Northern Ontario part of the province, and that has been gradually chipped away. Now we've got to turn it all around. So we are here 100%, and we'll do whatever we can to support, because we're all fighting the same issue here. As Peter said, this is for environmental reasons, it's for economic reasons, so that we don't all become ghost towns in Northern Ontario. We want to be able to thrive and do really well as vibrant communities that are connected together. Our only strength is in our ability to travel from one community to another. I have a terrible time getting around this Northern Ontario province for the work that I do with Algoma University, for other meetings that I have to attend, and I really need to have that rail like all of you need it for health reasons, for safety reasons, and you have all the reasons, and we're just here to support you. Thank you so much.
I'm here for two reasons. First of all, to assure you that the North Bay Council and Mayor were 100% behind you all the way, and we're not quitting. The second reason is I'm here to remind Dalton McGuinty that I was a witness to that signature when he promised not to divest the ONTC in that by-election when, of course, guess who my opponent was the current mayor. So I'm here to remind McGuinty, and I think we need to continue to remind Premier I don't think that the Premier can sort of put this off to Bartolucci. He's the boss, and we have to hold his feet to the fire. Thank you.
Finally, folks, let me wrap up with a message to the Premier, and I'll make it as polite and constructive as possible because we still are statesmen at the end of the day. Premier, the divestiture of the ONTC is wrong. Premier, privatizing the ONTC is bad for Northern Ontario. Premier, coming to the Nipissing riding a decade ago during an election and promising and guaranteeing not to divest the ONTC and going ahead and divesting the ONTC and rubbing our faces in the sand at the same time is wrong. I urge the Premier, I urge the government to reach out, change their approach, and recognize if you don't look around and see the seeds of change right now, then you're going to see the seeds of change by force. Thank you very much, people. Stand behind me.